Okay, the time has come. My favorite part of the show. I'm putting Reggie on the hot seat, covering all the latest hot topics in Minnesota sports called What Does It Mean? Let's jump right into it. First up, the Twins lost last night to the Royals in their opening game series, 4-3, after Tyler Duffy came in the sixth inning and allowed the eventual go-ahead runs. Reggie, what does it mean for the Twins bullpen if you're the coaching staff trying to just assess what we've seen so far through these first few weeks of the season? Where's this panic meter at?
I think it's high, man.
Yeah.
I think we've seen enough to see through the first couple weeks, like, yo, they got a bullpen problem. And I think what's funny is it's like, man, okay, yeah, you want to just maybe try to ride out the wave and see what happens. But honestly, I think we've seen enough to see that in high leverage situations, like they just can't get it done. And it's tough. It's like they have all these championship expectations. You know, when the bats are doing what they're supposed to do, you know, 3-1 lead last night, there was some issues that kind of came forth, some bad decisions on base running and things like that maybe could have ballooned the lead a little bit more and gave them a little bit more of a cushion. But it's just like, why are you in every game just hoping to establish like a big cushion just in case the bullpen doesn't do what they're supposed to do? And I think that's the issue here. I think they're going to have to bring in some reinforcements if they truly believe that they are a contender this year, which remains to be seen because they haven't strung along enough games of wins yet this season. You know, I understand they're still figuring things out, but man, when you got these good contributions from the starters, as we've seen, you can't be winning like every other couple days. Like, you got to actually like get it done. And last night was such a winnable game against a beatable opponent. And somehow they allowed it to slip through their hands.
Yeah.
That is frustrating. I saw a lot of people on Twitter just giving them the business for that performance last night.
You know, it's one thing if you just got to worry about these relievers and middle inning guys and bullpen, but when you're still trying to figure out your starting pitching rotation with new guys, Archer, Sonny Gray's got a hammy, from top to bottom, it's almost just too much. And I know it's a long season. It's a marathon, not a sprint, but dealing with both the starting rotation and trying to mask and put a lot of Band-Aids on this relieving situation is almost just too much for this coaching staff to handle. All right. Many fans will tell you the Minnesota Wild have no choice but to retain Kevin Fiala, as he's carried the team on his back this last stretch of the season. However, with their current cap situation as it is, what does it mean for the chances the Wild front office can't find a way to get a deal done? Like, what's your percentage chance here that they retain Kevin Fiala on a big long-term contract?
It's just so funny, man. When they got Marc-Andre Fleury, we were all talking to Bill Guerin, and we were like, man, all right, now that you got Flower, like, okay, what are we doing for, you know, the next year? He's like, man, can we just enjoy this right now? And it's funny because, like, that's what they need to do. And they also need to maximize this talent, because we may be seeing the last of this roster looking like it's looking right now. And it's cool to see contributions from guys like Matt Boldy, 15th goal of the season scored yesterday. Like, it's just like, cool, great. But honestly, trying to keep a guy like Kevin Fiala is going to force them to make a decision with the cap situation. As much as I hate to say it, like, they're going to have to make a decision between Fiala and Matt Dumba. Do you want Fiala, who's an elite offensive player and who can score you a bunch of goals, or do you want Matt Dumba, who can score goals, but he's an elite defensive player? And also, he's had some injury troubles this year, which causes you a little bit of concern. But the dude is like an ultimate team glue guy. He's a great player to have in the locker room. Ultimate ambassador, you know, all of these different initiatives that the league is doing to push forward diversity efforts. Like, having a guy like Matt Dumba on your team is a luxury. But it's like, okay, now you got to choose, because it's like, look, the money is not growing on trees. So it's like, okay, do you retain Dumba, or do you maybe try to deal him and make an investment like, okay, we're just going to go all in on scoring as many goals as possible and try to beat teams that way? But it's just like, a talent like Fiala, you hate to lose him.
Reggie, I know you're still kind of settling in the big picture here in Minnesota, but you think the Minnesota Twitter fan base was a little upset last night after they blew a 3-1 lead to the Royals? If they don't retain Fiala, you're going to hear it on Twitter because those fans will not be happy one bit if they can't retain this guy. He's just been such an impact for this team down the stretch.
Fans wanted a situation where they could keep both. I know there was a lot of fans yesterday. They're like, keep both. And it's like, dude, I don't think that's possible. So you're going to have to choose one or the other.
Yeah, turn the cap off, Matt.
Exactly.
Just turn the injuries off. Yeah, no problem. All right, last one. What does it mean with Reggie? Vikings' new head coach Kevin O'Connell spoke to the media yesterday about how impressed he's been with Kirk Cousins being a more vocal leader in team meetings and out on the practice field early on. What does it mean for Kirk's ability to transfer that newfound leadership role over to wins during the regular season? And what does it mean for the new partnership and relationship between the new head coach and the QB?
It's a good thing. It's a good thing. It means that we might see a new Kirk this season, a different Kirk. I think we've gotten a chance to see the gamer Kirk Cousins several times. Last year specifically was that game against Carolina when he walked it off with that incredible touchdown pass to KJ Osborne in overtime. Like, we need to see more of that guy, not the Kirk Cousins that drops back on 3rd and 10 and he pushes it out 4 yards and they have to punt. Like, we can't see any more of that Kirk Cousins. And it's interesting because when I talked to Kevin O'Connell earlier this month, I asked him, I said, look, do you feel like Kirk has another gear to go, another level to reach in your offense? And he said, I do. And he's going to hold Kirk to higher standards than maybe the past coaching staff did. And what's interesting, though, is when I brought up the whole, can't go broke making a profit mindset that Kirk seems to have, Kevin O'Connell mentioned, okay, maybe we don't put the offense in those situations. Okay, maybe, if it's 3rd and 4, and Kirk does make the decision to do the 4-yard pass, that's a first down. And it's like he wants to put Kirk in a better position to succeed on the field, to extend drives. And I think that's where, philosophically, I think we're going to see a different Vikings offense this year. And I'm excited to see what it looks like because last year fans complained, we complained in the media, 3rd and 12, 2nd and 14, all that. Kirk is going to, whatever the best read is, he's going to do that. I think what Kevin O'Connell is going to challenge him to do is to be a little bit more aggressive on some of these plays and push the ball down the field. I mean, he has elite playmakers on the outside. And Irv Smith coming back healthy is going to be another addition that should be good for the offense. Like a healthy Dalvin Cook, he has all the playmakers on the field to make it 2nd and 3rd and manageable each and every drive. And I think what we're going to see is Kirk maximizing his ability on these drives with Kevin O'Connell making things a little bit easier for him on the offensive end.
Yeah, a lot of great points there, Reggie. I think, in the NFL, these players, they get to a certain point in their career, a certain age, but especially quarterbacks, right? And, from year to year, physically, they don't get any better. If anything, they deteriorate, right? Like Kirk Cousins' arm isn't going to be better next year. He's not going to be able to throw the ball 10 yards further. He's not going to be faster, but it's the intangibles. That's what can get better and sharper from year to year. The field awareness, digesting the playbook, being a vocal leader, right? That true captain. And I'm just very interested, again, to see the relationship between this new offensive-minded head coach, Kevin O'Connell, and what he does with Kirk Cousins.